too easy. So I thought, aha, I'll get him on this one. So Blue 2, they're hard to find. They're really hard to find. And then I sort of come back and on the next books, it's not quite as complicated, but that's the second spread. And here's the case where I walked into my house, I had this piece, and I asked, the family, I said, okay, you guys, what is this? What is the name of this? And my daughter just blurted out, she was probably 9 or 10 at the time, she said, Flying Elephants, Dad, it looks like flying elephants. So that's the actual title of that spread. So on this spread, you look inside the tubes, and if you line it up just right, two different pieces of paper make the tube. We've seen that already before. Let's go back here. This is pyramid, and what you see in the pyramid, each facet of the pyramid has the name of an artist, one of the artists who influenced my work. What is that one? I think that one is Matisse, Matisse. And this just shows the movement. See how that works back and forth. There you go. This one, the 2 spins. When you spin that piece, it makes the image too. Okay. This is another pop-up that I used on the very front of one of the limited editions of Blue 2. So some of the books have one extra little special pop, and this is the pop-up. When you twist it sideways, you can see the red dot hanging inside. It makes kind of a nice optical illusion. The next book was 600 Black Spots. This is the notebook that I kept for 600 Black Spots, so I decided to start keeping notebooks for each one of the titles. And so there's it started off as yellow. Can you see it was yellow then? Wait, never mind, black dots. That's better. I started putting black dots. And these are the kind of sketches that I do, and from those sketches will come something. And so on the right-hand side, you see the sketch for what eventually became one of the pops in that spread. Here's a second sketch, and I'll show you those pieces in just a minute. And just drawings for possible wheel mechanic. There's 500 Black Spots, which eventually became 600 Black Spots, because you'll see on the last spread I just went nuts and added too many. So that's the sketch that you saw before. That's the piece that came from the sketch. Kind of looks like a Mondrian, doesn't it? And so when I wrote about it, that's Mondrian floats with shadows and 60 black spots. But I didn't intend it to look like a Mondrian. It just, once it was done, that was the impression that I had about it. Oh yeah, so there's the drawing. That's how it started out. And this piece is kind of inspired by the design of designers out of Italy in the 80s they called themselves the Memphis Group. And they called themselves the Memphis Group because they liked the Bob Dylan song, Stuck Outside of Memphis, or Stuck with the Memphis Blues. Again, I don't remember the name of it, but they were inspired by the Bob Dylan song. So this is more, one of the things that I always wanted to do was wrap a pop-up, wrap it with something. And so for years and years and years, I experimented. I bought women's hosiery, I did all sorts of things. And finally, I was in the grocery store buying tomatoes. And these are the little bags that the little cherry tomatoes are wrapped in. And I realized that was the perfect material because it needed to be able to stretch and then, contract it the right way. There's my studio. Yeah, so that's the studio when everything's finished and it's actually kind of clean there. White Noise, the final book in the series. It was all yellow. I mean, I was just an example of how the titles come about. I made this structure and I just couldn't decide what to call it. And at one time, I considered making this book all monochromatic. Each spread was going to be all yellow, or all blue, or all black. And I was had my music playing, and the Coldplay song was on, It's All Yellow. Now, that's it. That's what it is. It's called It's All Yellow, because it was at one time all yellow. That reminded me, for some reason, of something that I'd seen in a Disney animation. I think there was a megaphone character who had a big nose. So that's called Walt's Megaphone. Sir Anthony's Easel and Munari's White Noise. Sir Anthony is Anthony Caro, and that piece just reminded me of an Anthony Caro sculpture. Bruno Munari, do you know who Bruno Munari is? He's an Italian illustrator, as well as designer, and I thought I was going to be very clever and be the first person to make metal pop-ups. I'll make these sculptures out of metal, and I bought a Bruno Munari book, and looking at it, I think in 1945, Bruno Munari made a metal pop-up. And the little piece that's right down in the bottom there, the piece I adapted to be a clicker or sound maker, is a copy of Bruno Munari's metal pop-up. So he beat us to it. There you go. This is also a Bruno Munari design, something that because he experimented with a lot of paper and pop-up too. And so these are just more experimentations. Another wrapped piece. That's hosiery. More. Pink nylon nettings. I like those. Here I'm experimenting with, paper you can see through and what happens with the paper behind it. And just more experimentation. This is the kind of stuff that's on my wall that hopefully someday will be translated into a book somehow. The mess on my desk. This is what it always looks like. And I have layers and layers of paper on the floor. We did a series of cards from the books. And this is the first comp that I proposed to a publisher. It was going to have a box too, but the box didn't work out. This is another design for a book that was rejected. It's an alphabet based on the art style, the red dot art style. This is a piece I did for the Dutch designer Hester Van Oggen. She paid me in shoes. and Hester designs absolutely beautiful leather goods, and she asked me to do a pop-up for a book that was about her. So this is the Hester Van Oggen piece. This is a piece I did for the band Coldplay. They asked me if I would design, or show them a design. Back to here. Show them a design for a CD that they were going to come out with. It turned out to be the Viva La Vida album, but this was not even close to what they liked. But this was the design I sent them. They liked the pop-up, it just wasn't right for Viva La Vida. And I eventually used it for something else, you'll see. And I've been experimenting a little bit with things that are not books. So this is a kinetic sculpture. This is a box, and you open it, and when you open it, all these pieces spin. Yeah. So it's kinetic in the sense that as you open and close the box, see the wire, the string, how it's wrapped, those pieces spin, and it's kind of a fun little piece. This is another piece I've made. It's a box. Spin the handle, and the pieces of paper inside spin around. So this is an exhibition of the books that we had at a gallery in not far from my hometown in Auburn. I thought it was a nice little gallery setup. And that piece you see in the middle is the largest pop-up I've ever made. It's 4 feet by 8 feet. And it's a big working pop-up, and kids would open and close it and open and close it. This exhibition was up for about 3 months, and by the time I took that piece home, it was literally falling apart. So cardboard's not a good way to make pop-ups, or large pop-ups. I've got to go metal. More large pieces, another large piece in the center there. Okay, this is the next book. So you get to see something that only 2 or 3 publishers have seen. The book will be called Hide and Seek. It looks like it'll be published in France in 2012, and I haven't decided which U.S. publisher it will go with, but probably here at the same time. So it's hide and seek. It's very similar to the Red Dot series, but this will be considered a new series. And in hide and seek, I've changed the art style a bit. Now it'll be more of a collage style. This originally was also another piece for the band Coldplay. Their next album was going to be called Arabesque, and so this is part of an arabesque design. Arabesque is the floral pattern that you see within the Islamic geometric designs, and so this was an arabesque. But they completely changed their mind, no longer arabesque. So now it's in a book. And what you do in this particular book is instead of finding one item, you'll find many items. 4 black spots, blossom, and you see the white tea, and there's a smiling face, there's a fish up on the top right. So each spread will have multiple items that you find. The next spread, a yellow splat, and there's a car and a star and a candle. This is an adaptation of the large piece that you saw earlier. So, and I'm starting to explore more with textures and collage type stuff. So there it is. This is as far as I have. I mean, as far as I've designed, and this is a word search. There's the name of 87 artists is placed somewhere on this piece. So let's see if we can see anybody. Rauschenberg across the very bottom, Pollock at the top left. You can see a bit of Warhol. So all the contemporary post-impressionist artists. There you go. Tuttle, you can see a little bit of Agam. So that's a word search. And there you go. This is the piece. This piece is actually going to be made, and it's another Coldplay piece, and this is for they're coming out with a single this Christmas called Christmas Lights. So we're hand assembling these right now as it goes. There'll only be 100 copies of it though, so limited edition type thing. This is my studio. That's my assistant Emma. She's my daughter. And once again, this is clean. This is what it's like when it's clean. Yeah. When I saw Karen's studio the other day, I thought, uh-oh. You're so beautiful and so well put together. Mine's just an absolute mess. My work style is controlled chaos. I'm usually working on 5-6 projects at a time. But it's okay, it's worked out so far. Of course, this daughter's now in high school. She's a senior in high school, so these photos were taken a while ago. And this is the drawing table that I took out of the dumpster when I first moved to Los Angeles. It was broken. I put it all together, and I've carried it with me my entire life. And I hope that that's the very last drawing table I have. It's been a good luck piece. That's it. That's the end of the show.